Duet.
Oh my God.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Daramouthe, or Dara for short. And welcome to another Darachat, of course. It is all nice to see you all. Um, anyway, I am joined by my guest, Hausmeister. Yeah, the German is in the house. Hello, House. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Good to see you.
Well, yes, I am seen, but that just because I've shown my face after such a long time. Beforehand, it was just my hands, like I was some hand model or something, like in that Seinfeld episode where it's was it like George Costanza is a hand model? He's just known for his hands. Oh my goodness! But anyway, how are you doing tonight, good sir? You sounded disheveled or something.
Oh, I'm all right. I'm all right. Well, had a good day at work and
That's good.
ready to have a good chat.
Yeah, yeah. Work was the fun. Work was the fun part, but it's sort of it can get tedious at times. But I mean, if it puts food on the table, you do what you do, right? Because I have a full time job and stuff. So try doing this. I'd rather do this more, but only one pays the bills, and it's not this.
You have a table?
What? Well, it's a more of a desk, really. Like this, like yeah. I did once. I can't remember what happened to it. I had like one of those unfoldable tables, but I don't remember what put it. So I was like, where did I put that thing at? So yeah, it's one of those things. But no, I'm glad to get to have you on. And of course, as I had said in the thing, that it was actually I get to be on one of your spaces. I think it was. Um, that Mr. R was telling me about. So, and how often do you do those? Your
You
spaces,
know, I don't have a set schedule for them yet. I've had a couple technical issues whenever I've had them.
right?
I love having them, but it
Mhm.
does tend to be kind of a challenge. So I try to do it at least once a week.
Yeah,
I'd like to get in with a little bit more frequency, but I got to get the technical end of it squared away first.
yeah, that's understandable. I mean, I've never. I don't think I've. No, I did do it for my phone once, and it was during when. Actually, I had to do it a few times because for some odd reason, once it disconnects, you have to start the whole thing over. I'm just like, really? It's just like, can you not pick up? We're in the from the disconnect, but I guess it doesn't. So,
Well, not only that, but most people don't experience this, but in my house,
mhm,
there are spots where it'll actually switch from Wi-Fi to 5G, and
yeah.
anytime it does that, it disconnects you, it kicks you out.
Uh,
So I have to be careful. I can't walk around, which I normally do when I'm talking. So
yeah. No, and that's the sucky part because, again, it's just I mean, for me, I have my PC, I do that sort of thing, so I'd rather do it from there. But having it on mobile is a nice thing for when accidents happen, or like you said, you get disconnected or whatever. But still, I mean, it's not. It has its moments. It has its moments where you want to throw down the phone and say, "I've had enough. I've had enough of you."
absolutely. I mean, I think I'm going to probably start getting into using my computer more for it.
Right.
My computer mainly right now is a media server, but
Yeah. So, but I mean, you probably do other stuff. I mean, like I know you said you like once a week, but you probably do other stuff, or you just do like that whole space thing where you just chat with different people or whatever.
well, it started out I wanted to engage with the people I talk to.
Mm.
Sometimes having a voice is a little better than getting to know people through text.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I discovered that a lot of people don't know about all the great conspiracy theories that I'm well versed in.
Oh goodness.
So my fiance no longer has to be the only person that gets to hear about it.
Thank you.
Wow. Sounds like someone said you can take him for a walk for a while. That's I do get it. I like I was telling you earlier, I did have someone on who conspiracy and all that stuff, but we were talking about a bunch of different other things. So but I know there's a lot of people, like there's a content creator followed Nerdrotic who does that sort of thing, and all that stuff. I mean, um I'm not against that surrounding arena. It's just after a while it can get very like the world is nothing, everything is nothing, and that's pretty much it, sort of thing.
Well,
Uh,
you got to stay away from getting doom pilled, but
yeah.
I mean there's more than meets the eye. You can't live in that world.
Mm,
It's fun to experience it, but
mm,
at the end of the day, you have to worry about your immediate needs, food, shelter,
mm.
spending time with your family. These are the things that actually really matter because you can't really change what's going on.
But that's all a conspiracy. It's all a conspiracy, all of it.
Yeah. At least that's what Alex told me.
Oh, I can't do it, Alex Jones. Oh, you can't listen to them. They're all gonna take you out.
That's
The
right.
squirrels. The squirrels are all the problem. Um, or like a more like a Rick, like, Morty, you can't listen to the squirrels, Morty. They're not real, Morty. They're all just little robots. They don't know what they're doing, Morty.
Well, yeah. And Rick found out the hard way he's easily replaceable, which
Yeah,
ironically worked with that show.
yeah. Unfortunately, it went downhill once they went later on, and of course they replaced Justin. But then, of course, that's all that controversy. It's certainly a mind boggle. But yeah, that was just silly.
It
'Cause-
was, and then the charges were dropped and kind of put
Yeah,
him in a really weird spot.
yeah. It's funny when you're a creator of your own creation. Well, part because he was creating with what was the other guy's name?
Dan Harmon.
Dan Harmon, that's right. So him and Dan Harmon were sort of co-creators, even though there was original bit of it where it was sort of from like this uh, spoof or parody of like Doc and Marty, that sort of thing, because they did have like a video of that from a long time ago. But when you have that thing where you get accused of a crime, right, and everyone's guilty till proven innocent, and unfortunately that's true for most cases. Because people are quick to judge on the basis of is he guilty or not, and so that's how it went. And he lost pretty much all of his job with all Rick and Morty stuff, and I think the other show he did too, which was
Solar Opposites.
Solar Opposite. That's right, and so yeah, but I mean, again, the show had been going on for so long that at a certain point, it's going to hit that point where it's I don't know what you call it. It's living beyond its expected use, I guess. I don't know how to word that well. But
I think they jumped the shark,
mm,
and the show kind of became, I don't want to say more than what it was meant to be, but it definitely it got away from its original intent.
yeah,
But I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Harmon's other work,
the Community.
Community, and he has a new show,
Oh,
a new animated show called Crapopolis.
No.
It is like Greek mythology.
Mm,
It's already got 2 seasons out.
sheesh.
It's not great.
Eh,
I tried watching it. Justin Roiland really was the voice of Rick and Morty when it started.
yep.
All the great things you remember were him, and then they kind of started taking it away from him, and it went downhill. But that's just me. We don't need to get into that.
No, again, it just goes back to he had to prove, like you said earlier, he was later found to be innocent of the whole ordeal, but he had to be proven to be innocent first before anything else. So this is the funny thing, right? Everyone says innocent until proven guilty. That's not how it works anymore. You're
Nope.
guilty until you're proven innocent. And even then, people will still say, I think he's still guilty, right? Because that's just how it works. Once people have set in their mind that you're the guilty monster, guess what? You're going to be the guilty monster until beyond reasonable doubt. And even then, you'll still be guilty monster.
Well, unless your name's Bill Cosby.
Well, I mean, at this point, you might as well just stuff him on a boat and see how long he lasts on the ocean, because he's way past the point of any coherence of being alive. Because I mean, he's what, 70 something years old at this point.
He's up there.
You might as well just let his put him under house arrest and just let him go with old age, see how long he lasts. But I mean, yeah, that's another thing in itself right there, and all this other stuff. Again, pretty much at this point, for all intents and purposes, you have to prove you're innocent. Now, you can't be presumed innocent. You are guilty until you prove your innocence, and that's just how it seems to be going nowadays.
I mean, I agree with you. I think Justin Roiland might be the last person you see that with. The Me Too movement lost a lot of its credibility. It did definitely catch some sick people, but there were some people who didn't really do anything. Some people who they were able to escape it. What's his name? Aziz Ansari.
Oh yeah, I think.
Yeah, he got accused. He came back. Louis C.K. did what they accused him of. He came back. So it's a different environment than we were living in even a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but I don't see it. I mean, it's there may be some things that change, but then also there may be some things that don't, and that's a toss up, because now now it's just a wait and see of what next, right? But then again, I mean, the justice system isn't a fair, and that's another thing too, right? People think that there are things that can be fair, and that's not how it works in reality. I mean, for me, and living, growing up and stuff. Words we create sometimes don't have the meaning we think we'd like them to. So saying equal, right? Well, not everyone's equal because just going for the men and women route, right? Men and women have different proponents, different pieces of themselves, whatever, that are quite different from one another. Obviously, men can be a little stronger or whatever, depending on the context. And then you have just people then you have different races and all this stuff. Not equals, just not a term that exists because, yes, we can say, well, things should be equal. It's like, yeah, but it's not really a case because equals just sort of a wish word, I feel like. Same with fair. Fair does not exist because life isn't fair. There are a
By
lot of
def,
things.
I
Yeah.
was just say by definition it can't be,
Mm,
because not everybody can get. If you're competing for, let's
mm,
say a deer, there's only one deer. You can't give one to every participant. So life can, by definition, not be fair.
yes. And
Did that
but
come
it,
out right?
yeah, sort of. I mean, you use a deer in that. I don't know. I don't know
Well,
about that.
I was thinking hunting.
Oh, okay.
You know, you go out hunting, you shoot the
Yeah.
deer.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets to bring it home. It's not like a participation trophy where you can just make one for everyone.
Yeah. No, that can. I would have um you could point to things like how the justice system works and how there are sometimes bad people who win and get out of things and whatnot, and how there are good people who lose and get thrown in jail, whatever. There's that sort of thing where we consider, where is the fair, where's the equal? Well, it doesn't exist because that's just not how things work. Corruption is a thing within our own society as human beings. I mean, if you aren't aware of some form of corruption in the society you live in, I don't know what to tell you, to be honest. you're
Well,
you're s- you're sitting on imagination at that point.
if you don't realize that it's corruption, you're just not paying attention.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what happened. Not to get political, but you look what happened in the last 4 years.
Mm,
Um, they aggressively went after their political enemies.
yeah.
And then in the last year, they're like, well, what if they come after us because we're their political enemies?
Mm,
What are you talking about? Like,
mm,
but I don't agree with that at all. I think sets a nasty precedent. And it's turning a lot of people against each other. And at the
mm,
end of the day, we're all countrymen, we're all in it together, like it or not,
yeah.
you know. Um, it's like a little league sports team. You got to be on it. You got to be on a team with the guy who's a jerk, and you know
Yeah.
just how it works.
Yeah, or you could be like the one who's pretending to play into it until you get to the point you no longer want to pretend. I mean, there's that too. It's just dependent on, because I mean, you're never you. I guess at one point through our history, we did wholly agree on something, and that was 9/11, right? 9/11 was that big thing that happened, and you saw a whole country sort of come together to some degree. But then, of
Eh,
course, you have everything after that, like who was the real proprietors and all that stuff, and all the, of course, the conspiracy stuff that comes with it. Um,
Yeah, I don't think you want to open that can right now.
it's too early for 9/11.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, look, it's only 9:10.
Yeah, no, and it's. I mean, yeah, there was an amazing amount of people that just forgot all their differences and came together.
Yeah.
Unless you were a Muslim or a Sikh, and then people, we don't talk about that much, and
Mhm.
it's a shame because for a minute there we got kind of silly with it.
Yeah. Well, and the sad part of it is too is I don't know how many people remember the people that jumped out of a very tall building, because they thought it was their last option, right? You had two very tall, equally tall buildings, I think, because they were considered the twin towers, at least from what uh, the nickname was. And then you have it's just a horror in its own right. Horror, not horror. That's a
Yeah,
that
yeah,
don't want
yeah.
to get made that mixed up. But yeah, it's but other than that, and maybe war, we're not really gonna agree on a lot because each state has, it it would take a lot in the sense of like having that happen again in order for people to come together, to have the common enemy, as it were. um because you're not gonna have a kumbaya, unfortunately, unless it's like a real devastation, which is the odd part, right? You have to have the worst devastation in human history for people to come together in a unison way. And that just seems like, I mean, you see it in the, what is it? You see it when weather, like big weather things, of course, stuff like that, or a tragedy of some other sort. But yeah, how is it that it takes a tragedy to bring people together? That's been the weird thing, and I don't know
So,
why. Hey,
um, I,
hey, Dash.
I I'm assuming that you're at least a couple years old and you remember COVID.
Yeah, honestly.
Just think about how divided people got during COVID. The maskers, the anti-vaxxers, the
Mm,
pro-vaxxers. And instead of people saying, this is supposed to be the most devastating thing in history, instead of people coming together to try to keep everyone alive, everybody was kind of in their little camps.
mm.
Um, and that would be a more recent example than 9/11. Man, this conversation got dark.
My thing is that, oh, hey, Arrested and Dashboard, how be seeing you all. My thing is that that's nothing new, though.
No.
Right? The all that tribalism stuff, that's nothing new. I mean, you see that in sports, your favorite team sort of thing. So that's nothing new. I can't imagine that the early 1900s didn't have some similar instances where, I mean, maybe during the Spanish flu, right? You could have had stuff during the Spanish flu or whatnot. But this stuff we look at and say, "Oh my gosh, how could it be this way? How could it? It's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun for that." Ideas may be combined with, hey Adam Gray. Ideas may combine with other ideas to make something new or recycled, but there's not really much new in the way of human behavior or whatnot. We're all driven by some form of need to, uh, whether it be greed, whether it be envy, whether it be jealousy, all those sort of things. We're all driven to some degree. And how well we handle those sort of things internally, that's a different story. But I'm no psychiatrist, so don't ask.
Oh, you're definitely not wrong. People are definitely tribalistic
Mm,
and they feel the need to belong. I think that with the rise of social media in the last 10, 12 years, people have really kind of they identify with something and that becomes their defining issue. You
mm,
see it with politics, or I mean, even people who aren't political, they'll wrestling. I like this wrestling, or I like that wrestling, or
mm.
uh, comic book franchises. I've never met a DC fan, but I imagine there are some. Or Marvel, Star Trek, Star Wars.
Mm.
Everybody has their, except for me. I don't like either Star Trek or Star Wars.
Blasphemer! Blasphemer!
Yeah, I'm a bad nerd.
Oh, thank goodness he said that. I was like, did he just say bad boy? That'd have been a weird part of the show. Um, I am the Hausmeister. I've come to tell you I'm a bad man.
Yeah, no, seriously, I do not like any fantasy unless it's called Labyrinth.
Oh, you mean the
David Bowie movie.
yeah, David Bowie. Well, Jim Henson, but David Bowie. Yeah, yeah, I get you.
Well, when I was a kid, it was the Goblin King, because my mom used to tell me she was going to sell me the Goblin King
Wow, your
as a
mom did not.
joke.
Oh, okay, I was like,
It,
man, your mom did not love you at all.
no, no, no. It was fun for us.
Oh, that's good. Uh,
So,
I'd be like, dance, baby, dance.
oh yeah.
If I remembered the rest of the words. But no, yeah, it's just it's a weird thing to me where it takes Um, but I'm a bad nerd. Oh my gosh, Sarah, don't throw yourself under the bus yet. Don't throw yourself under there. You're a bad nerd. I'm not even a nerd, and there's some things I like. Um, I've watched the um what is it? I watched the Star Trek movies when they were coming out, like Insurrection and all that stuff. I wouldn't say I'm a Star Trek fan, but I did watch those movies. Um, my phone knows me as the Goblin King of the Darkstorm Galaxy. Look, you need to change that right now. I don't know what to tell you, man. You need to change to something a little within your lane of anvil and forging.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, goblins, the Middle Ages,
Yeah,
forging, blacksmithing, it all kind of goes together.
that is true. Except goblins look ugly though. So I
Well, I mean,
mean,
to us,
yeah, no, that's true. I guess there have been many people who've done different varieties of what a look of a goblin is, so that I will take in agreement. But yeah, I'm not gonna say all the time, right? There have been times where you could do something that's of unity or something like that, but it seems like more than not, it seems like more than not, it takes a high tragedy to bring people together, and that's the kicker for me is why does it take this necessarily high tragedy thing for us to come in, especially when you're talking about like what's going on now, right? Like the deportation stuff and all that. People, you would think people would agree that yes, if you were to go to the UK, right, without a passport or something like that, they would send you home, or you'd have to find a way of getting home, right?
hmm
In the US, they're like, "Oh yeah, sure, come in." That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have one country? Well, of course, maybe not the UK now, but let's say like Russia, right? You can't go to Russia without a passport. You
or or Mexico.
or Mexico, right? You can't go to well, I don't know if you want to go for the cartel and stuff, but I mean, yeah, you couldn't. I ain't changing nothing until someone gets the reference. You know what? Keep it. Just keep it. I don't. Just go. Um, but yeah, even Mexico has its own rulings on um visit visas and whatnot. And the thing of it is that people within the US don't understand that there are rules. Why why would you think there wouldn't be rules for a country, right? Why would you think wouldn't be rules for a country to protect itself against people who don't um what's a good way of describing it? Who
Have our
don't
best interests in mind.
Well, I mean, you can have people coming in the natural way as well, and not have the U.S. best interest as mine. I mean, you can have that too.
Yep.
Uh, but it's more of just like you're having people come over, and you already have these rules in the state that's saying if you don't come through the legal process, you can't come in. And yet, porous as it's been for a while, now that's changing, but still. Um, yeah, it's a weird thing because then you get people preaching, well, they're not illegal. Okay, well then why don't they stay at your house? Well, I don't need them to stay at my house because it's my house. It's like, what was that again?
But it's the same thing with your country. It was I don't know if you remember, but it was like late 2022. Ron DeSantis sent a plane load of migrants to Martha's Vineyard.
It was a bus.
But they had to fly them to Martha's Vineyard because it's an island, and
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
they got off. This is
Mhm,
where like Obama has a house,
mhm. Oh,
and these are all these rich people who preach that we have to let them in,
mm,
and those people were gone that day.
mm,
Yeah, they made a show and they brought them food, and then they were gone. They got them right out of there.
mhm,
Um, you know, it's a touchy situation. I don't necessarily think that either side is 100% right, but we've had everything open for so long that now
mm,
we kind of got to tamp that down because a lot of the open border thing was actually originally the Koch brothers, they were fundraisers.
mm,
They openly said we want to let all these people in so that wages get driven down, and that's what's happened.
mm.
Because there's people who do your job for less than you will,
Yeah,
which is great for companies, but it's not so great for people.
Yeah, but but again, the funny thing is when you become a well, maybe we'll just start with like you have corporate companies and you have like small business companies. At the end of the day, if you want your business to survive, you do have to look at the financial aspect, and if prices go up, you have to manage to that regard. And the same with, I mean, bigger companies, they can afford to some degree, but they do at the end make for the money and all that stuff. So it's it's a difficult in a way it feels like a difficult subject to tackle on, but at the end of the day, a company's bottom line, no matter what company it is to have the financial backing in order to keep the company going, right? Because no one starts a business because they want to give to the world everything they have and do it for
Yeah.
free. That's I've not met anyone yet to that.
I don't disagree with that, but I'll give you a great personal example. I used to, a couple years ago, I was a Family Dollar store manager.
Oh,
Also been a Dollar General store manager.
okay.
But when I was at Family Dollar,
Mm,
I had a regional vice president in my store.
mhm,
Super nice guy.
yeah.
And he says to me, he says, if you could have anything, if you could change anything about the company, what would you change?
Uh,
I said, well, what I would like is to hire a couple of full-time people
yeah.
who become invested
Mm,
and about care about the store
uh,
rather than hiring a bunch of part-time people who work 2 shifts a week
yeah.
and are like, go ahead and fire me. I'll lose $120 a week. Who cares?
Mm,
At the same time, the he wasn't the CEO. He's one step below. Was flying around in the private jet to random stores all over the country
mm,
to just walk through. And I'm like, so you're telling me that paying people to be in the stores, because we've all been in these dollar stores, they're all terrible.
mm,
But it's because they don't have the payroll to staff the store.
wow.
But you're paying for a private jet to fly some dingleberry all over the country so we can go hassle people. And that's where we're at. I always said if I was to write a book, I'd call it Minimum Wage, Minimum Effort. You get what you pay for.
Yeah. Um, I mean, you've already it's and the funny thing is like Dollar Generals are like popping up all over the place.
Uh
Like
huh.
weeds. It's I mean they are sort of miniature stores, but they do sell things for a lower price than say you go to a actual grocery store like a Kroger or a Walmart or whatever. The funny thing is though is like you were saying like it's minimum effort, minimum wage and all this stuff and a lot of people are not not everyone, but a lot of people are just at a job for a paycheck. Because at the end of the day, all they need to do is to worry about paying for the thing to, all that stuff down the line, right? And then you're talking about having someone who's not a CEO, but a step down from a CEO, wasting money to do drop buys. I mean, unless he's doing like an audit, which you would think, right, of someone that high stature, then this guy is nothing more than just wasting money, the company's money, and
Yeah.
he gets to get away with it, which is funny. There's a thing that's true. It's called the Peter Principle, where
Yeah.
people are promoted to the point where it doesn't make sense of why they're there in the first place.
You basically you work to just above the level of your competence, and then they
Yeah.
stop promoting you.
Uh,
Um. And I'm gonna kind of give the business away because
yeah.
you were like, it's cheaper to buy stuff at Dollar General
Uh,
because the packages are smaller. They
mm,
really are. Next time you go
mm.
to Walmart, look at the size of your box of cereal, and then go to Dollar General. They're smaller boxes.
Sort of like the travel size for stuff.
Well, they make them thinner.
Uh,
They're the same height, but they're thinner, so it
mm,
has less product. So if to get the same amount, you actually spend more. Um,
wow.
and that's how a lot of times they make their money.
Mm, interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. And that, well, I mean, it does make sense. Again, you don't call yourself the Dollar General if you're not going to at least be close enough to that. And again, they are popping up all over the place like weeds, which is a weird. weird thing to see. Like you go out to the boonies sort of places and they're there, right? You go to almost like outside a city or something and they're there. It's just insane of how many have been popping up lately. Dollar Generals. It's incredible. I remember Family Dollar too, but you now more days just see more Dollar Generals, which is crazy.
Yeah. Where in my hometown that has, I think, 7,000 people in it,
Mm-hmm.
you used to be able to. Now the Family Dollar closed, but you
Mm-hmm.
used to be able to stand in the parking lot of the Family Dollar and you could see the Dollar General. That is a town
Wow.
of 7,000 people
Wow, that's insane.
that were splitting. They were splitting that business.
Uh,
Um, and what they do is a lot of times what Dollar General's strategy is they go into areas that don't have a grocery store, or they might have a grocery store, but it takes a commute, and they pick up all the people who don't have cars.
mm,
And, that's kind of their bread and butter,
mm.
which is, a lot of people are going after them because they're creating food deserts. And I can tell you from experience, don't eat the produce from there.
Wow,
I wouldn't.
that's it's because it just sits out too long, or it's so incredibly filled with stuff that you don't want to.
Okay, so I don't know where you're at, and that's fine. But like Walmart has a produce manager.
Oh, okay.
Price Chopper, Giant Eagle, Kroger, Albertsons, they all have a produce manager. Dollar General does not have a produce manager.
Mm-hmm.
They have people who have to worry about every other department in the store,
Uh,
and that food is not handled properly. I guarantee it.
jeez.
It was never in any of the stores. That one store I worked in, it was.
Mm,
But I worked in about 8 stores, and 7 of the 8, nobody handled it properly because nobody had the time.
jeez. Wow.
Nope.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. Because
wasn't malicious.
right.
It's just you don't have the time to do it properly.
Yeah, and usually you only have maybe one or two person in the store, if any at
Yeah.
all. Because I mean, you'll be up there and there's like 2 to 3 different lanes, and there's only one person up there, and you got a line. Oh, and Half Pine says Dollar Generals are grown. They sprout from stray DG bags that wander like tumbleweeds until they find rich soil to sink into. 2 days later, there's a fully grown DG.
And what's funny about it is what they do is
uh,
they'll build a new store, and they fully staff it, and
yeah.
they get it going. And then when they build the new store down the road, that first store they built, they paid no more attention to. They just don't care. Um,
Wow.
and you can see it if you go in there.
Uh,
Now, when I in my store, I wanted to pay my employees more
uh,
because I'm like, if I pay them more, they'll be more incentivized to,
work.
yeah.
Mm.
$16 is the maximum hourly rate at Dollar General, at least in the state of Ohio.
Wow.
That is the cap. You cannot go any higher.
Wow. Jeez.
Unless you're a manager, and then you get salary, and that's different. But
Mm,
so the minimum wage now in the state of Ohio is, I think, $10.40.
mm.
So you're only able to pay $5.60 more than minimum wage to anyone that's hourly in that store. And then when you look at it like that, you kind of understand why these people don't care.
You know,
You can't make a career out of it.
and that's a funny thing too, is when people like McDonald's or whatever, like maybe back in the day you could have made a career out of it, like something like McDonald's, but at the end of the day though, these jobs are not career makers. I mean, unless you're like Ben Low and all that other stuff, these are not career making things. Your best bet is sort of either going to a trade or wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars on a almost empty college degree, um,
Mhm.
especially when you have to deal with all the stuff coming out for AI and whatnot. And I mean, there are jobs out there that can be done to grow from and all this stuff, but I mean, people have to remember is that you have options, and sometimes they forget and they get stuck there, and it can be a sad tragedy into itself, to be
Oh,
honest.
I you'll get no argument from me. And I remember the big rallying cry back, I want to say it was 2016,
Mm-hmm.
was learn to code.
Mm.
Well, bad news for everybody that learned to code. AI can code. So
Yep.
Those jobs are going to be pretty useless. And it almost seems like they're hurting us towards universal basic income,
Mm.
which sounds great. You know, hey, everybody gets $1,000 a month.
Yep.
And hey, my rent just went up $1,000 a month.
Yep.
So you're right back where you started.
You know, it's a thing where um, it's just a hurdling towards more government reliance. But at the end of the day, though, um, it would almost feel like people have to start going back to the ye old days to learn how to either survive off the land or other stuff or get creative because um, certainly I understand, the conversations about AI and whatnot. I understand on both ends, but you're not going to win the war on stopping it because it's already too late past that point, right? Once you've
Well,
once you've released the genie, you can't put it back in the bottle. I mean, it's just there's how.
I like your analogy much more than the one I usually use.
Oh, what was yours?
You can't put the shit back in the horse. Um,
Yeah, well, yeah, that I can understand, but that just sounds uncomfortable.
yeah, I don't think the horse would be too happy, and you might get kicked trying.
Whoa. You might actually get the crap kicked out of you, and then who's pooping your pants?
Exactly. But the thing is it's like it's by design. This is what they want. They don't want us. Think about it. When we were kids, I'm 41.
Right.
When I was a kid, there was a TV VCR repairman. Um, Everybody could fix their car. Nowadays, it's have you changed the oil in your car recently?
No.
I mean, or just changed a belt. They make it. You can still do it,
Uh,
but they design it complicated so that it's harder to do yourself. They don't want people to be self-reliant. They want everyone to have to rely on everyone else.
mm,
Um, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It does drive the economy,
yeah. In
but
a
if
in a
things
meta.
go if things go south,
Uh,
you're gonna have a bunch of people who don't know how to do anything for themselves.
yeah. You're basically gonna have what The Walking Dead looks like, except it's without zombies. Um, I mean, you could say some people will be zombies, but not like in that sense. They'll be more like people who just they'll be the first to go because one they don't. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be an exclusion from that, but I mean, you have people who won't know what to do, won't have the provision to protect themselves, and you want to see what civilization looks like when all bets are off. Wait until the power goes out and never comes back on again.
They've There's a popular saying, and I always forget the number of meals,
Mm.
but I know it's like we're 3 missed meals away from apocalypse. Like if you
Oh,
think about it,
uh-huh.
if the grocery stores stop having food
Yep.
and the people who live on DoorDash and
Mm-hmm.
those people are going to get hungry. And if you have food, you're going to kind of become a target.
Yep.
And it's an uncomfortable reality. See, Half Pine's got it.
Three
Three,
meals to anarchy. Yep.
and we kind of almost saw it during. Yes, I know we've been through it. I just can never remember the number of meals.
He's just trying to correct you and slap you on the wrist at the same time.
Well, he's got my back, but he's not gonna let me. He's not gonna let me sneak that one by. I appreciate it. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's wild times we're living in. We have to you have to be realistic about where we're at.
well, I mean, yeah, but we're not. I mean, it's chaotic, sure, but we're not even close to what could be the case
Oh yeah.
In the sense of, you know, what he said, 3 meals to anarchy. I mean, at a certain point, you are. I mean, you know, doing the whole COVID thing proved that, right? We're always on the edge of a knife, and all it takes is just one slight turn, and you're gonna bleed to death.
Oh, an infection, and you can't get antibiotics. You know, just think about a simple respiratory illness like bronchitis.
Oh yeah.
That puts you down. You
Mm-hmm.
can't breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and someone else has to take care of you. Something happens to them. You know, these are things that are best not to think about. I think I agree with Dashboard there. Yeah, I could miss a meal or two myself. But it's all right.
Right.
You know, I mean, but people don't know. You're not taught things you need to know. You're not taught about usury. You're not taught about interest or civics.
You're not taught. Yeah, you're not taught about a lot of things that have actual use. And a majority of the time, you see a lot of people want to be content creators, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that you're relying on multiple facilities to work in order for you to do your thing, right? I'm relying on Rumble Studio to work in order to broadcast this. I'm relying on YouTube and Rumble to continue to work in order for it to be received. I'm relying on me to even have you know, my mic work or my light work or my camera work or even the power itself to work or the internet to work. I'm relying on several systems to do this one thing. All it takes is for one thread to go.
Uh huh.
I mean, the light is I mean, that thread that could go, or the camera could go, or whatever. Those simple things. But you're talking about the power. You're talking about the internet. Once one of those things go, what then? Right? So you have a lot of this thing where the wrong lessons are being taught, or the wrong things to go after are being taught. And the thing you want people to know most is like, okay, so how do you filter water from say like a river, right? How do you do homemade filtration? Does anyone know how to do that?
Charcoal.
And
I
then
know.
what?
Yeah, you grind up the charcoal and you'd probably put it between two, like maybe a mask. You could kind of, and you could filter it through that.
Hmm.
Or you could order a life straw on Amazon. Use my affiliate link up in the description.
What happens when you have no power to order that life straw?
No, no, no. That was definitely a joke.
I
But
know, I know. I'm gonna turn it around on you. No.
that's all right. That's all right. No, that's the reality of it. And you know, a lot of people, like you said, want to be content creators. They want to be YouTubers. But I'm here to tell you, in the apocalypse, Mr. Beast is screwed.
Oh yeah, all the money he has ain't gonna help him. Whew. Oh, there you go. Look at
See,
that. Activate dial 3 3 for 5.
I told you, I was, I was pretty close.
Oh goodness. No,
Um,
yeah, that's funny.
but I mean, how do you? Okay, here's one for you. So let's say everything goes well.
Mm.
You shoot a deer.
Okay.
So you eat that night. How do you preserve the meat with no electricity?
I do know something of that. There's smoking.
Uh huh.
I know you can smoke meat. I've seen like videos of them like smoking fish or whatever. There's salt packing. Back in the
Yep.
old days, frontier days, they used to salt packing. I don't know how to do it, but I know there are different ways to do it. Right?
Or dehydrate it, make it into
Yep.
jerky.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's smoking. I think smoking is sort of in the same vein, isn't it? Like dehydration smoking, that's sort of like that.
Similar, but not the same.
Okay.
That's like saying Pepsi is like Coke. They're similar. They're not the same.
Well, hold on, hold on. Coca Cola or actual Coke? Because you need to be very specific when you say that.
Well, yeah. I think either works because Pepsi is nothing like cocaine. It's definitely closer to Coke, but they are two different things.
Yeah, yeah.
Coke will clean your end. I don't know if you know this, but if you pour Coke on an engine, it'll clean the grease off it. Pepsi won't.
Yeah, obviously, because it's the syrup. I mean, the syrup is strong, and they say a lot of that. But and then you have all that caffeine too. DP diet DP for me. But diet drinks have aspartame in them, and that's not good for you either. Uh,
There's no artificial sweetener that's good for you.
mm,
It's kind of a trade off. You lose the calories, but then you get the. But I mean, think about what's in the water now. There's literally fluoride in the water. And my favorite is I'll mention that people be like, oh, but it helps your teeth. When you're a little kid, when your teeth are developing, it does. But after that, it doesn't.
yeah.
And you can just have it in your toothpaste and you'll be fine. Why are you putting poison in the water?
Why you poisoning the well? Well, yeah, and there's a whole discussion right there too. But I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about for like filtration of water, there are many different forms of filtration,
Yep.
obviously, but there are many, but it requires knowing how to do it. Like the basic one we were talking about, where you have charcoal, you have some sort of shift make thing in between, then you have sand, you have gravel, you have all these different levels of filtration in order to get the majority of stuff out, and then you have to boil that water to
Uh-huh.
get the bacteria and stuff out, and then you go from there. Or there's solar what is it called? Solar like it's like distilling water, like vapor, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like you dig a hole and you put a black bag over it and a weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you got like vapor distilled water. You got that relies on the either make a fire or you use the heat of the sun, depending on the time of year, because otherwise it's not going to work. Um,
Yeah.
about to eat some dinner. Should I make you a plate? Well, I'm not hungry, but I do thank you for the offer. Um, but yeah, I mean, again, this is just stuff of videos I've seen. I've got a book I bought a while back, just like how to prepare an emergency and stuff like that. I don't even know where I put it, to be honest. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
even getting books that describe, okay, so here's how you do. Because again, when it comes to like that whole shebang, you're not gonna have Folgers coffee filter things to do it. You're gonna have to make the filter in the process of everything else. Because I mean, there's a lot of natural stuff you can use to filter water, but it just other things make the process a bit easier. But you won't be able.
so it used to be if the world came to an end, you could just go to the library
Mm,
and you could get a book.
mhm.
Uh, libraries kind of aren't. I mean, libraries are where homeless people go to, go BM and look at the computer.
Yep.
There's not really. They're not maintained like they used to be
Mhm.
because of the internet.
Yeah.
So now, what do you do?
Mhm.
So, and kids nowadays, they don't. They would just say, "Well, just check the internet. Just check the internet." Um, but that can go out, and at some point, I'm sure it will.
Mhm.
I can't believe someone hasn't made a Mad Max apocalypse style movie where the internet goes out. Uh, there was that South Park episode, but
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
where Kyle had to unplug it and plug it back in. But if
I
the
was,
internet goes out, what do you do?
I was more thinking of the Mr. Marsh scenario.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where they were drawing it. He's like, and then they asked for a credit card. He's like, that part's the same.
No, I was thinking the time where he's at they're near the base of the internet, and he
Yeah,
gets inside that one room plate.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I know. That's the spooky ghost.
Yeah.
But I
I was like,
mean,
come on, guys.
it was funny.
Oh man,
But
that's
yeah, just think about it. A movie that would scare the hell out of the kids. Be a Halloween hit. The internet goes out, and what do you do?
oh gosh. You don't even need to take the internet out. All you need to do is take the power out. Well, no, actually that's probably easier because you can still have power, but just take the power out. Good lord, you're gonna see a lot of people devolve into cavemen at that point.
Uh huh.
Because
Yeah. I mean, have you seen people when the electricity goes out for a couple days. We had a huge storm here back in the spring, I think it was,
Mm.
and it knocked out power for days at some places, and people were going feral. You know, they had to sit in their car and charge their phone because they didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, purrs. And the unfortunate side effect is that we haven't learned from those moments. We didn't learn from the COVID stuff, and we certainly haven't learned from anything from that now. We still rely on there to be any form of government. But once that starts to fade away, there is no form of government. There is just you in the Wild West.
Yeah,
And everyone is up for par.
and there's a lot of people will find out what they're made of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and hopefully me and you and my son upstairs and his kids never see it.
Yeah. We hope
Hopefully.
anyway. Yeah, we hope, but it's always good to at least know a little something of how to do something, because again, at that point, you're going back to the old system of bartering,
Yeah.
and even then, you're still dealing with the people who get emotional, and one all it takes is one shaky trigger. All
Yeah.
it takes is one shaky trigger, and you've got nobody.
Or how
Nobody.
about this? The one guy that waits till you're asleep and he breaks into wherever you are and steals all your food, and there's no cops to call.
And kills you in the process.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep. Yep.
So,
It's
but I mean, this kind of got darker than I expected. I didn't expect to discuss the end times and
Well, it's not the end times, because it's not the end. I mean, the end
no.
is when you're gone,
Well,
right?
the Mad Max times then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even then you could survive if you know a few things, but at the end of it all, I think people's very, because we've had a bunch of movies, right? We get a bunch of movies talking about the apocalypse, whatever. But I think people goes where it goes. That's right. Dash has a conversation goes where it goes, and that's what makes it work. I think people don't understand it. It's not the end until it is the end, but the end is only when you can't go on anymore. Right?
Yeah.
You're done. You're extinguished. Your lights out. It's over. Right? That's when it's the end. When you can continue on from that point, it's sort of just a challenge of, okay, how do we survive after this? Right? I mean, you have had movies where they show, like, people, the Walking Dead and all this stuff. Wouldn't be, I don't think it'd be that realistic, but I mean, in the end, I think they try to do some form of best. But really, the point of the matter is that I think it is a good idea if people take up a form of item that doesn't require electricity, something that it can be done manually. Whether it's learning how to make a fire that you can start quickly, whether it's learning how to filtrate water, whether it's learning how to build maybe a shelter out of pretty much nature itself. I mean, there's a ton of small things one can learn. It's just I don't think I think people one are too busy, and their life is too busy, and they're not willing to remember what happens when it gets to the edge of that blade. And
Well,
that's not a good place to be.
of course not. I mean, I was a Boy Scout, so I can start a fire. Just give me some bug spray. I mean, I can start a fire without it, but it's way
Yeah,
easier with it.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Jeez. Hey, Steve. Nope, but that's great too, because that's what they, for Boy Scouts, that's what it teaches. Like, you have to learn how to survive in the wilderness with what you have. Um, Now, obviously, you probably get like a Swiss Army knife or something like that. I don't know how it goes, but you do have to learn how to kind of create a fire and all that stuff. They have all those different badges and whatnot, so there's that. Um, but yeah, I would definitely think if people could pick up at least one thing to learn, that if something happens, at least you got something. And then if you find other people, you could work or not. So.
Well, and that's just it. In all of the post-apocalyptic media I have ever seen,
Mhm.
the biggest villain is always the other people. Always.
You
And
you mean it's not the village people?
No, not the village people. But I mean, you think about The Walking Dead, and I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, the zombies are there,
Yeah.
but the governor, Negan.
Yep.
Um, I actually couldn't watch that show after like the fifth season because it got boring. But the enemy was usually people, and that's human nature.
Yeah, and that's a point where people need to start practicing again their conversational skills because I'm telling you what, when you could pick on something right away in a conversation, it's like this is not going to go well and you can get yourself out of it. I think you're better off than the person who's like, oh, I can't see the signs or whatever, and then they end up dead. So there goes that. But yeah, so okay, so it is the top of the hour. And I do this thing, it's a power hour time where I kind of set aside some time for us to promote ourselves. um so I don't know if you do content creation or not, but I did see your links, your link tree, so I did put that down there. But if you want to sell yourself of sorts, not like that,
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
the floor is yours.
Well, I would say I wouldn't want to sell myself because I don't want to be broke. Um, Primarily, you can find me on X, White Bread One.
Mhm,
My Facebook's in there. I have a
mhm,
lot of different ways for people to get a hold of me. I'm kind of dipping my toe into making content. I've kind of always been a super self-critical person.
mhm,
Everybody says, "Oh, don't do that," and it's like, well, I can't control it. It's kind of
mhm.
how my brain works.
Yeah.
But I'm finding I enjoy it. Um, you know,
Yeah.
it's I host spaces kind of regularly.
Mhm,
If you're interested, let me know.
mhm,
I can definitely work around people's schedule. We can get people in.
mhm,
I love, like I said, I love having great discussions, talking with people.
mhm.
I don't necessarily need to agree with you. I just ask that we can be civil.
Yeah, because once it gets uncivil, that's when it's like, okay, I think we'll need to end this right now. Um, but yeah, no, same here. I try to be about the conversation. I've had people who are creators, people who aren't creators, all that sort of stuff. So there is that. But yeah, no, that's a pretty good thing to have, to be honest, because there's so many people to talk to. It's not a joke, not a joke. But yes, his link is down below, and of course, I believe yes, Adam Cray has done his for YouTube and whatnot. So that's his link tree. It's down in the description below on both Rumble and YouTube. So if you like the guy and want to see where he's at, those are the links there. And of course, for my end of things, whether you're on the Rumble side or whether you're on the YouTube side, it doesn't matter which one. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a comment or follow, anything that helps with the engagement factor is much appreciated, because at the end of the day, not only does it help in me being seen more, like all content creators want to, it also helps in having other people on as guests, like Hausmeister, like Malay K yesterday, and like so many other people. That are not only finishing out this month, but are coming up in next month. So many different people, new and returning. So any help with the engagement on either Rumble or YouTube is much appreciated. And again, I have a link down below. My link tree too. It's a link tree. It's just like a connected to a website sort of thing through that. Um, so you can go to that link tree. You can find where else I'm at. If you want to take up the opportunity to come on yourself, right? That opportunity exists. You can either go down to the comment section on either Rumble, YouTube, leave a comment, or go to that link, find me at my places, and we can go from there. Because I'm telling you what, only one person so far has gone through that link to find me and to ask to come on the show. So you want to take up that opportunity? The opportunity exists. All I ask is just be civil and have a mic, because I've had a lot of people who don't show their face, and that's fine. That doesn't matter to me. And all that matters is if you have a mic and are willing to take up the opportunity. So thank you all for that. Um, and yeah, because there are a lot of times I've asked somebody to come on, but and majority of my communication is through Twitter X, so I can understand what you mean by that. for your end, but a bunch of my communication is through Twitter X, and sometimes I don't get a response back at all. And of course, Twitter X, the DMs don't really notify well, so there is that. But I can make a public post, and sometimes I don't even get an answer for that either. So it's like, okay, whatever. But it is what it is. And then scheduling on its own is just as difficult because you're like you said, you're trying to work around people's schedule and all that stuff. And I'm at a time period where I can work with it a bit, and the majority of the time it's either early afternoon, like 4 p.m. or so, and then it's late evening, like 11 p.m. my time or so. I think the latest I did was like midnight, but that was only like one person. So by the time it's been like 10 or 11. But yeah, it's not an easy thing, but I revel in the challenge because I've met a lot of great people. So including yourself, Hausmeister, including yourself. I want to know why you call yourself Hausmeister though.
Well, that is just one more quick thing. In my link tree, there is a Discord server that I've started. I started it because there were some good folks on X that I lost touch with. They either got suspended or disappeared. That's another avenue I'm trying to grow. It's like 4 of us, so don't think that we're in there being wild. It's just something I'd like to do. But to answer your question,
Mm.
my real name is Steve Martin. Nobody ever believes me, and everyone thinks they're the first person to figure it out.
Right.
So I don't really lead with it.
Mm.
But at the same time, as you can see from my X handle,
Yeah.
White Bread One,
Mhm.
here in 2025, it's not the best time to have a name like that. It was the band I was in high school, if you're curious.
Oh wow.
I started vocals, which is, you can hear my voice was terrible.
Mm.
And then played bass.
Nice.
And so I looked up, I typed into Google how to say my job title, which is janitor, in
Mhm.
different languages, and Hausmeister was the best one.
Nice. Well, I mean, you could have said custodian too. That's another word for.
I'm
Uh,
technically maintenance,
oh.
but I do a little bit of everything. But as far
Mm.
as, I say, oh, I clean the floors. Oh, you're a janitor. Sure. I just don't even fight it anymore.
Curse you! I do more than that.
Yeah. I got
Nice.
a pretty sweet gig. I'm not gonna lie, I really like my job. But
That's good.
I just, and then I went with the AI art. It seemed to work pretty well.
Mm.
Most people who've seen me in real life and seen the AI art say, yeah, that looks just like you.
You mean the guy with like the 12 pack and all that?
Well, it's a keg, in all fairness.
He's got a keg underneath his shirt. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, oh.
Yeah. There's no
Oh.
beer in there, I'm sorry to tell you.
Well, maybe, but it's in there for
Yeah.
good.
I was gonna say, it's no beer that you want. So that's where the name comes from. Like I said, I'm just looking to have a laugh, when I
Mm,
stop to have a cigarette,
mm,
interact with people. I'm really big on that.
mm.
I'm not looking, I know a lot of people are trying to get monetized, and
Yeah,
it's kind of obnoxious. You
yeah.
see these people that all they do is they scream at the big accounts. We all do it. We're not gonna
I
lie.
I don't scream at big accounts because what's that gonna do for me? But I do try to point some things out that don't make sense to me. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, I get the monetization. I mean, on Rumble, I'm already automatically monetized, but I don't do this for the money, so to speak. It's sort of like a bonus. And I'm also on YouTube, but I'm too far away for me to even be monetized on the basic level. So there's that. Um, but no, I get what you're saying. You see a lot of these content creators like, I've got to reach this, like on Kick or Twitch or YouTube. It's like, I got to reach this number. I got to reach this number. I got to reach this number. I'm like, why are you creating content in the first place? If you got to reach a number to be monetized, why are you creating content? That's the thing that gets me is if you're trying to reach that goal of monetization, whatever platform it is. I was like, all right, fine, that's the goal you have, but why are you creating content if monetization is your goal,
Well,
right?
it's pretty simple answer to that. It's because that's easier than working at McDonald's, they think.
Mm.
But
They think, yes.
if you and I try to explain this to people, you see this a lot
Mm,
now. I want to say it was last week, it might have been the week before.
mm,
They updated they had that big memo that went around with the follow trains, and
yep.
everybody was losing their mind. They're like, how do I get followers? And I said, well, if you engage with people, they'll follow you. But how do I get are you just concerned with how many followers you have?
Oh, well, verified followers, yes, I would, because
No,
that's
no, I get that.
mm,
Just interact with people. Like I'm not gonna lie, when I started out, I kind of fell into that trap.
mm,
And then I stalled out, and it was, I don't know, 2,500 people. And, I'd have a bunch of people jump in, then I'd have a bot purge, and a bunch of people leave,
mm,
or people who you follow them and they unfollow you. I said,
um,
to hell with this nonsense, and I stopped doing it.
mm,
And up to where I'm at now, 6,500, I have not, you know, if you like what I put out there and you want to have someone to talk to,
mm.
that's what we're here for.
There you go. Sounds like a very cool slogan. If you want to chat with us, that's what we're here for. It's sort of like the what is it, the Motel 8 or whatever, where like we'll leave the light on, sort of
We'll
thing.
leave the light on.
Yeah.
I put it right in my bio. If you engage, they will follow, and if they don't, it's because they don't want to. That's the big secret. And I get a lot of people who are just starting out, and they'll say,
Mhm.
"Well, how do I get followers, or how do I get engagement?" My pin
Yeah.
post, my pin post says, if you comment on this, I'll go to your page and I'll interact, I'll like and retweet and comment on a bunch of your stuff.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you a little secret. Anyone who does that, I put a
Mhm.
notification on because I know they're looking for interaction.
Mhm.
And those are the people that I talk to all the time.
Mhm.
I'm not interested in, endless just lists of follow these people. It just
Mhm.
does not make sense to me.
Yeah, and sometimes those follows are bots. I mean, I've run into that issue before where there'll be these people that follow you, and then you go and find out that they're not actual people. So, um,
Wait, you
but
mean you mean that Illuminati recruiter wasn't real? Or
was his
e-
name Marcus? I think that's his name was Marcus.
the guy who was a high up at X that isn't verified isn't real?
He's asking for money from a Nigerian prince.
So, real quick,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but it was like 2 years ago.
Uh,
Some woman got tricked by, I want to say it was a Russian,
oh yeah, the
the
Brad Pitt.
astronaut. No,
Oh.
no, some guy convinced some woman, gassed her all up that he was an astronaut who was stranded in space and needed money to get back to Earth.
Oh goodness.
And she sent him a bunch of money. Now, think about that. I'm stranded on the moon. Can you send me some money? And they do. And that's what makes me angry about it. Like, I hate to see people get taken advantage of, and it happens a lot.
Yeah. Again, recent story was a woman who got taken advantage by some guy who's uh, someone pretending to be Brad Pitt in the hospital, and I think he got like a little over $800,000.
Well,
And what?
she left her husband.
Yeah, that's right. She left her husband, and then she kept sending this money because he got the divorce money or whatever it was, and she pretty much gave up all her money to this guy who's pretending to be Brad Pitt.
And that happens.
Yep.
People are lonely. People are, they crave the interaction.
Hmm. And
And
with AI, it's going to get much more difficult.
well, it's not. There's things you can do. So I give you, excuse me, I'll give
Mm-hmm.
you a hot tip with AI.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know if it's AI or not,
Mm-hmm.
ask it about illegal aliens. AI will correct it to undocumented workers. All AI, including Grok, will correct it.
Ooh, even Grok. Wow.
It will.
Oh, wow.
A good friend of mine told me that today.
Did you try it
So
out yourself to see?
yeah, it does.
Wow.
So, and there's other tricks. I mean, just ask it a question and AI wouldn't know,
Mm.
or wouldn't be able to word like a human. Like, what's your favorite soda?
What was the question you asked it again?
Ask it a question about
No, about the illegal.
illegal aliens. Yeah,
Like
I
what are illegal aliens, or how do you describe it?
well, so if you're talking to determine if you're talking to a bot,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
that's one way. AI, I mean, I can't speak for all chat bots. I have not seen anything with this deep seek except for if you're afraid of TikTok and you have deep seek on your phone, I don't know what to do for you.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, it's the same thing with that Red Note thing, right? Like once like people were seeing like TikTok was going to be banned, they started going to Red Note, which isn't much better.
No, it's way worse
Yeah.
because TikTok has it has a Singaporean CEO and the data servers are in Houston. Red Note is a completely Chinese company. But a lot of people discovered that China, the Chinese people, are not living like they thought when they got on Red Note.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they're trying to separate themselves, whatever the word is, geo fencing or whatever it is, from the
Mhm.
United States, so they don't keep getting all the stuff that, like I think someone had said like they ban LGBT stuff and all that. It's like, well,
Oh,
that's
they absolutely do. Do you
mm,
remember the first Disney Star Wars movie? Um, I can't remember what it was called. The Force Awakens? Was that it?
it was. I think so.
Okay. Do you remember the Stormtrooper? The main one that was on the poster.
Finn
Yeah, did you notice he kind of disappeared?
for the China one, yes.
Well, no, not just off the poster, but they kind of wrote him out of the movie. From what I understand, I've not seen them. I'm not pretending I have. But yeah,
Well,
China was like, yeah, this guy's not going on the poster.
yeah, because he was black, and they aren't.
Yeah, they're not very tolerant, as it turns out.
Yeah, and it's the same for any other one. Like for the Black Panther one, they had T'Challa with his helmet on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a Marvel guy either.
Yeah,
You know,
just in the poster thing, right? Just in the poster thing.
like, can I point something out to you? Are you a big Captain America fan?
I mean, I did enjoy the movie, but I've not read the comics, so I wouldn't.
How many stars does he have on him?
I like on his shield or his body or what?
I mean, if you count the shield in his body, he has two. But
Uh,
on any one spot, he only has one. It makes him Captain Puerto Rico because that's their flag.
well, then he'll be like, "I've come here to save the children."
Yeah, he'd be much more swarthy than Chris Evans, or
Chris
not.
Evans, yeah.
No, Chris Hemsworth is Thor.
Yes.
But I used to like the Punisher, the Thomas Jane movie. But other than that, I've never really been a comic book guy. It kind of falls into that fantasy thing I was talking about earlier.
I thought you liked Captain America.
I like the story of Captain America. But
Sorry, I was trying to do that illegal alien thing. Hold on. Sort of pay for one, to be honest. Here we go. This is what it says for I'd ask what are illegal aliens under US law. And trying to go with your question that you're asking. But I mean it kind of doesn't dismiss it, but it kind of keeps pointing down to the undocumented immigrants, unauthorized immigrant or person without legal immigration status. I think it's a more accurate and humanizing ways. Yeah, and I think
yeah.
that's the point. I think that's the part where it gets lost is humanizing ways. Like they're humans, but they did something illegal, so that doesn't change the fact that they are legal.
So is the AI insinuating that you're calling them from outer space? No, an alien is just someone who's come from a different area.
Mm.
And I don't say it in a dehumanizing way, but I also believe in calling things what they are.
Right. No, and it does say refers to a foreign national who is present in the United States without proper legalization. So it's not. It does quotes around it, but it's not dismissing it either. It's just yeah.
But it does go into that. So you're
Yeah.
either talking to a bot or a lefty, and but George Carlin had a bit about that. He meant, I don't know if you're a Carlin fan,
Mm-hmm.
but he talked about how people in World War One had shell shock,
Yeah, and they changed the wording like from PTSD and all this stuff. Yeah.
and how it went from 2 syllables to 8,
Mm-hmm.
and every time they did it, it became easier to dismiss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what they're doing. They're softening it, and they're changing the way people think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember to what?
What?
Oh, I'm okay. Sorry, I just got a weird notification on Twitter, so I had to look at it, and
Ooh.
someone told me for my appearance on here to remember to floss, which is like what?
Well, you can't even see my face. How would you know?
Well,
Just do it.
exactly, but who's to say I didn't? But it's neither here. It just caught me off guard because I saw the little notification pop up, and I said, "What are they talking about?"
That you just like pop up and don't forget to brush your teeth. It's like, really? I already
Yeah.
brushed my teeth. What more do you want?
Don't forget to bring a towel.
Hey,
You know.
don't forget to wipe before you get up.
Well, I mean, probably not bad advice,
True, but
but
why do you need a notification from Twitter X to give you that?
yeah. I mean, hey, I'm not hating. Someone's looking out, so
Yeah,
I'll take it.
then they say don't forget to add baby powder.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. I haven't really asked anyone this yet.
Sure.
So this whole hashtag thing that broke on X right before New Year's. The Zelina, and now you see people, they got like all these random nonsense words. And it's still working to get all these impressions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's people who do it all day long.
Yeah.
Why is it still going on? They're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they allowing it? That's kind of what I was wondering.
Are you saying when Elon was saying like they were going to get rid of hashtags, or they're going to downplay the hashtag sort of thing? Is that what you're talking about?
No. He said that,
Uh-huh.
but right around New Year's, it started with the hashtag Zelina. And if you type a post and you put hashtag Zelina, you'll get typically at least 500 impressions instantly.
Oh dang! Now I gotta try this.
I mean, you can try it, but it's been going on for upwards of a month now. You can't tell me they're not aware of it. Why are they allowing it to go on? Because the whole point of monetization is to get people engaged with the platform, get people talking, get people creating stuff, to get people addicted. Like, let's not lie about it. That's why they do it.
That's all of social media, though. I mean, look at YouTube. YouTube is basically Addict Central 101.
Well, yeah, but doing that is a cheat code. You're basically, so there are people that will type, I don't know, I probably couldn't share it to here if I wanted to, but there are people that'll type, let me see, I just saw one. That's what made me think of it.
Blitzblatzer. This Christmas, Blitzblatzer's coming to screen. Hashtag Blitzblatzer.
Let me see. I got a couple followers that are kind of really silly with it.
Now that you say that, I have to try it and see if it does anything. Just as an experiment. I'm allowed to experiment.
Well, I'll tell you, when you're ready to type it, I'll tell you how to spell it.
Zelina, it sounds like Zelena.
Yep, hashtag Zelina.
See, I know how to spell.
Listen, because I'm not gonna lie, I screwed around with it for a minute. I got one right here. All right, Hashtag Zelina, hashtag Ziudi, hashtag Helena, hashtag Heliver, hashtag Tamavi, hashtag Shalizinho.
That sounds like
And it's,
Indian. Sounds like Indian.
you know how many impressions that has?
Millions.
361.
Woohoo! Oh, so
So
just 361 or like thousands, or is it just 300?
here's what I'll do.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna send it to you in a DM.
Okay.
I'll send you the link to the post and you can look at it.
For it one day. You know what? You can write all the hashtags you want, but it's not gonna work and get my attention. I'm sorry, kids. Daddy don't play that way. You want attention, you say hello. You want to play the hashtag route, Daddy gonna smack. All right, that's how it's gonna go.
But
Hashtag need Daddy's attention. Is like you wanted it.
and by the way, I really like this girl who I just sent. She's awesome, but why are they allowing it? It doesn't add up to me because I try to look at everything logically,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems to me.
Come on. Jeez.
So do you see? I was trying to read that, and it's all nonsense. But you see the impressions, and if you go into that thread and you read up, there's people doing it all day long, like just boom, 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 boom. So the monetization thing, you understand. I mean, you're on Rumble, you understand how ads work, and the CPM. That can be great for advertisers.
Well, part of it's not just there are a lot of people who don't understand what's going on with that. I mean, I've had a few people on who are mystified by the understanding of it because they don't understand and there's no clear answer given. And of course, the analytics for Rumble's not.
Well, yeah, we had this conversation the first time we talked.
It's
But
been a while. Yeah.
I'm saying, do you understand? I mean, you understand that you get paid a fraction of a cent for every view that you get.
You're asking someone like me to pay attention to something that's not that big of an issue for me. It again, I do all this stuff for the conversational aspect. Anything beyond that's a bonus to the total. Because my thing is, I already have a full-time job. All of this is a bonus.
Yeah.
But beyond the conversation, it's a bonus. So asking me to like, okay, so what is the CPM and all stuff? I don't know because it's not that important to me.
So what I'm saying is here's what I'm worried about. We got a bunch of people right now that are trying to get monetized. They're using this. And then what's going to happen is they're either going to nuke their accounts or they're going to radically change the system and a bunch of people are going to hop off.
You're talking about Twitter X, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just asking if you understand how advertising works. I don't care about it.
I don't, because I mean I know that the people who pay for the advertising are doing it in hopes of getting a return on the buying of the products, right? That's the sort of thing. Yeah.
That's the goal. And that's so the first time we talked, I discussed how because you can watch Rumble anonymously and you still get paid on that. That's why a lot of advertisers are not, and as far as growing the platform, that's why a lot of advertisers don't spend much on Rumble. And that's why you get a bunch of the mainstream news and Walmart doesn't want you to know about this knife. And you're like, what are you talking about?
There have been some Netflix ads popping up. So that I do know is pretty big, but I understand what you're saying. It's sort of like the conspiracy fake ad sort of thing, right? But I mean, a lot of big companies don't like free speech or like with YouTube, right? I think it was the what they talk about, the YouTube ad apocalypse or something like that, where
I remember it.
A lot of companies weren't okay with certain people talking on certain subjects associated with their product. And for me, I think the one way to resolve that is it's sort of a like the Rumble Studio ad read, like they can choose. Well, no, that's a one side too. It would have to be a worked out, right? Like your content, you basically would have to go to the advertiser, like a marketplace, right? and you have to basically say to the advertiser, this is what I do, this is what I talk about, whatever. And if they don't agree with it, they can say no, and then you go to someone else. So there have to be like an ad marketplace.
Yeah.
You'd have stipulations and stuff for them to have. I'm not saying that's what's there. I'm just saying it's an idea, like an ad marketplace. Like if they don't want their stuff seen with a certain person, then they can choose not to, and that person doesn't get very much of anything. So I mean, it sounds difficult. It would sound difficult in retrospect, but I think that's the only way I could see it working is there be a marketplace, an ad marketplace, and the creator and the company would have to come to discussion. Like, this is the content I create and all this stuff, and freedom of speech and all that stuff. And if they don't agree on that margins, then they both get to walk away. It's deal making, basically negotiating a deal.
So, well, you touched on the big part of it though,
Mhm.
when you mentioned the adpocalypse, because a lot of people started self-censoring their videos, and that's when content kind of started to slide.
Mhm.
You got a lot of the soy face thumbnails and people pointing at whatever, and
Or the open mouth, yeah.
yeah, if you have a thumbnail like that, I immediately click do not recommend channel.
Oh, but I smile a lot. Come on.
But smiling is different. Smiling is different than the open mouth, super excited, pointing.
Mm-hmm.
That is what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding advertising for me is more about how are they affecting what I enjoy. As you know, or may not know,
Mm-hmm.
Dunkin' Donuts took a hardline stance against Rumble last year.
Yes.
They said, well, they promote a lot of stuff that doesn't align with our views. Listen, you sell expensive bean water, okay? I don't want you telling me what I can and can't think or hear.
Yeah, exactly. They they have as much as right to say no as the
They do.
Yeah, they have as much right to say no as you have much as a right to say no.
Well, I don't have a right to say no to Dunkin' Donuts. My old lady'd stab me.
Oh, uh-oh.
But I don't.
Tell us
I
more
don't.
about the old lady stabbing you. No.
If she doesn't have Dunkin' Donuts, it's not a pleasant day for anyone.
So you're basically held hostage.
Yeah. I gotta give that company money.
Yeah.
But people want to express themselves, and they will express themselves.
Mhm.
No matter how hard they try, especially Americans.
Mhm.
I remember when I was a kid, and I can't believe my kid never said this. I realized it the other day. I thought this was a free country.
Mhm.
He wasn't raised with the thought that this was a free country.
Mhm.
They don't teach that in school anymore.
Mhm.
But I personally believe that even people whose speech I don't like, they should be able to tell me, because if someone has a bad idea in their head
Mhm.
and they can't express it, I can't talk to them and try to change their mind, or
Mhm.
at least know to avoid them.
Right.
You familiar with Jeffrey Dahmer? Yeah.
I've heard the stories, but I'm not sure I want to go.
No, don't worry. It's nothing. It's nothing ridiculous.
Uh,
His father said after he was arrested, he said, "I used to have the same thoughts.
mm,
If he could have talked to me about it, I could have helped him."
wow.
But and I mean that's an extreme example, of course.
Mhm.
But a lot of times, if you have bad stuff in your head,
Mhm.
getting it out is how you work through it.
Mhm.
Making people just kind of tamp it down inside their head is not the answer. That was where I was going. Trust me, there's no more on him.
Yeah, we don't. There's already been enough movies and whatnot about Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't think it need to be any more of
It
that.
actually is. I mean, it's sort of an interesting story, but when you know the whole story, it's he was kind of just a plain guy.
Mhm.
It's not all that interesting. But the fact
It's.
that fact that his father said, "Whoa, I thought the same things."
Mhm.
Um, it
means it's hereditary.
it could be,
Could be.
but
Well, it could be in the sense of the teachings of, because again, a lot of kids get taught things that their parents know or lessons that the parents learned or whatever. So there is a passing of teaching sort of thing, right? From that regard. But yeah, I
Oh,
understand.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, if people say the wrong thing, instead of people trying to be like, "Hey, how about you don't?" You just take their voice away. Well, they can still talk.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll always be 4chan. There'll always be Parlor. There'll always be places where bad thought is exchanged.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, other Steve. That is definitely true. We all have crazy thoughts.
Yeah. It, making sure my mic was on. But yeah, it's one of those things where you want the ability to speak freely in order to work through things or get certain things out of your head or whatever. Because once they're just words, they're just words.
Yeah.
But the problem of it is always that um, what we consider freedom of speech is not free, because while you could say, well, you have this, the whole internet does not run on freedom of speech, because every country does not have freedom of
Oh,
speech.
you're not wrong on that.
Yeah.
And they've definitely tried to lean into that to limit our speech.
Hmm.
As recently as like a week ago, I've seen the UK saying, well, if social media, especially after Facebook, if
Hmm.
social media doesn't conform to our standards, no. That's not how it works. But you're not wrong on that.
Yeah. Well, it's just like there was like I can't remember what I saw it online, but there's like some copper in the UK who's like, "We'll extradite any U.S. citizen who does this thing on the internet." And also, I'm like, "Good luck," because you're dealing with people who have guns and you don't. So
Well,
good luck and extraditing. Yeah.
you know that they were only talking about one United States citizen. They were talking about Elon Musk.
Good luck with that.
Leaked emails have come out where the UK was definitely very, very deeply involved in trying to take down what they refer to as Musk's Twitter. There's a lot of stuff coming out of the UK. Like they sent political officials over here to help with the Harris campaign.
Mm.
For all the good it did.
Yeah. Lesbian Nana, what?
I think about the only thing that could have helped her was another candidate.
The only
She
thing
was.
that oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say she was the worst. All around, just everything about her was. She didn't appeal to moderates at all.
She was a, as what they say, a DEI hire,
Yeah.
basically. She
Well,
was a
no, I was gonna say Biden even said it. He said, "Well, I'm gonna pick a woman." Well,
no, yeah, you did. I'm gonna pick a lady. She's got that long hair, and she smells nice.
I don't get silly. Um, but I think they say, well, America's not ready for a female candidate. Well, how about you don't run literally Hitler or the Giggler, and we can see if we're ready for it.
Mhm.
Because I'm not sexist. I would absolutely vote for a qualified candidate.
Uh,
Call me crazy,
mhm.
but I want the qualifications to be there.
Mhm.
But
It just seems like there's not a woman to be found to have them. Yeah.
well, Tulsi Gabbard,
Well, maybe, but
yeah,
you always have someone else trying to prove themselves, whatever. So we'll see.
yeah,
But right,
absolutely. I think the 2028 race will be very interesting. But I'm so burned out on politics. I'm trying to think about other things.
well, yeah, and that's why when I do this thing, I'm not focused on one arena like most people,
Yeah,
content creators who do stuff. They focus on maybe gaming or entertainment or politics, whatever. I just don't care because I can go anywhere. I'm free as a bird to go wherever I want. I don't have to be stuck to one point, because the odd point about this is that for the content creation mark, there's always 1,000 other people right behind you doing the
Oh,
same sort of thing.
this is definitely a saturated market, and to rise up, you really have to differentiate yourself. When I
Mm,
first got custody of my son, he
mm,
says, "Well, I want to be a YouTuber," and I said, "Well, what do you offer?" He says, "Well, I'm going to play video games."
eh.
I was like, "You may want to develop a personality to go along with that, you know." And I wasn't saying it to be mean. I was saying it
Right.
because I didn't want to watch him sit there and struggle
Yeah.
to his 23 subscribers
Yeah.
and never make it. I
Hmm.
want it. And my dad did that for me when I was a kid because I thought I was going to grow up and be in the NFL. Isn't that
Yeah.
funny?
Like it's I mean it's possible. It's a long way to work up to, but I mean if you play well, they
Well,
always
it's
they always send like scouts to like high school or college football things and whatever. But yeah,
it's a law of averages. You
yeah,
have to think that each team. I don't know how many because I don't watch football anymore, but like
mm,
54. I think there's 54 players on a team.
mm,
So at most, you're looking at what 2,000 people
mm,
in a country of 360 million.
mm.
You really have to set yourself apart.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids, like we were talking about earlier, I just want to be a content creator. I want to be an influencer. Yeah, you're influencing me to be irritated.
Well, there was that one kid who was giving reviews of toy products and made multi-millions.
Yeah,
That was
don't look him up now.
Oh, probably went to prison, right?
No, he's still reviewing toys as like a teenager, like little
Oh,
kids' toys as a teenager. It's super depressing.
well, that's mostly the parents' fault at that point.
Well,
Uh,
it's all he knows how to do. Like he was literally a millionaire as a child. Look at Corey Feldman or Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin just barely got it back on the rails a couple years ago.
yeah, and he's got a pretty good life now. I mean, in the sense, I'm not saying that it's riches, but I mean, there's more than just money that can be considered riches. So,
Well, he has a good life
yeah,
now.
he has a good life. I think he got a star
He,
last year.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
But look at Drew Barrymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Her childhood was just bad.
Whew, whew. No, it wasn't just bad. It was horrendous.
Have
Like
you seen
the
her? Have you seen her show?
I don't. I mean, I've heard things, but I don't watch
Something wrong with
stuff.
her show.
She's super touched in the head, and I feel bad for her. I'm not making fun of her. I'm saying,
Hmm.
and it's so that kid Ryan, his name's Ryan. He had a toy brand before he was 5. He never had the chance to experience life like Michael Jackson.
Hmm.
Um, whether or not he did what they accused him of, he
Hmm.
never got to be a child.
Yeah, it's a lot of. So I mean, very rare few ever did, but I mean, not a lot of them. Yeah. Uh,
And it's a shame.
mhm,
His brothers and sisters all went through the same thing, but he just could never square himself with it.
mhm.
But they were all kind of weird. All the Jacksons, none of
Yeah.
them came out normal.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. Just going back to the Ryan kid. Part of the problem with that is that his parents are keeping it going. Right? Like if you're someone, okay, so let's do it this way, right? Say you win the lottery and
yeah,
it's maybe like one of those, it's not like the biggest thing in the world, but it's maybe like 20 million, right? Well, of course you're only going to get half of that because government and taxes, right?
uh
Um, but even if you get that 10 million, my thing is like you would, if you were smart, first off, you probably have a trust because you know how many people come out of the woodwork for that.
yeah,
But then you would start trying to invest that in other things, real estate, all this other stuff. But you don't see a lot of people think about that remark or going for that remark because again, if you have someone help you, it costs money for that. But the problem of it is you don't see a lot of people. I mean, there are some stars that do invest, like you see those stars that like the alcohol or whatever sort of thing. But there are more than just edible products for that remark. It's just, you know, when you get those millions, don't think it's going to be there long after. You've got, once you hit that point, once you get that point, right? If you, especially the kid or whatever, once you get that point, at that point it should be down to the ground, nose to the grindstone, planting the seed so that money can grow elsewhere instead of just relying on this. Because this is fragile. This is a falsicity. This can disappear like that.
Oh, of course. And I'll tell you, as someone who sold my share of lottery tickets,
Mhm.
lottery tickets are a tax on people who are bad at math. I'm here to tell you. I worked at a store a couple years ago, and a guy would come in every Friday and spend over $900 on lottery tickets.
Wow.
And I would watch him come back the next week and win maybe 45.
Oh.
And so, and statistically, people who win the lottery end up back being broke very fast.
Yep. They made a show about it on like TLC or whatever, where these people who'd win the millions of dollars, they'd be buying Lamborghinis, jet skis, all this stuff. And it's like, you guys are the dumbest people on this earth. You have a bright light and you want to start making sure that bulb lasts a long time.
Well, the thing is so they say all the time, rich people stay rich, poor people stay poor. It's because we don't, as someone who didn't grow up with money, you don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have it, and everything you've ever wanted,
It's
you
yours.
can go buy it all at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But rich people don't do that. The richest guy in the town I grew up in, I always tell this story because it's funny to me. Guy's a multi millionaire. The one time I ever saw him in my life, he was at
Yeah.
the grocery store yelling at the cashier because the coupons were 15. His total came up to 15 cents off of what he thought it would be.
Yeah. Well.
That is how rich people stay rich. They watch their money.
Yeah. Well, and obviously he was a very, sounds like he's very idiot too of treating people because he
Oh,
was 50.
he was terrible. One of the most famous stories about him
Mm.
was his kid had made him mad, and he made him stand outside when it was like 5 degrees out. He made him stay outside all night. He was just a terrible. He's no longer with us, but he was a terrible person.
Oh my gosh. That is insane.
Yeah. And he also was a miserable person. He never was happy because money doesn't buy happiness, but I've never seen anyone cry in a Lamborghini.
Well, with the windows rolled up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they are tinted. They are tinted.
So it's possible they have cried, but you haven't seen it because the windows are up.
Well, it's not a complete solution, but I'll
Right.
tell you, when you're not worried about how you're going to pay your car note and how you're going to pay your electric bill,
Mhm.
you tend to have different things to worry about.
Yeah.
And there's stressors no matter what.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will never get to see both sides of it. There's a very slim part of the population that's born rich and die poor, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And it used to be America was the land of opportunity, and it's becoming less and less of that every day.
It's Yeah, I can understand that. I would say life itself is the land of opportunity, but America itself cannot be what it was that people most celebrate because nothing stays the same, right? Like
Well,
the 1900s did not stay the 1900s when it became the 1950s. The 1950s did not stay the 1950s when it became the 2000s. There's a line of part where people need to understand that the only thing that's true, well, not the only thing, but one of the big things that's true, and it's a contradiction to itself, is change. Change is always constant,
uh-huh.
but that's where the contradiction lies, because the constant doesn't change. Change does. Constant doesn't, but change is constant. So,
Well, I mean, think about it this way. Thomas Edison, he invented a ton of things.
yes. Yeah.
They credit him with tons of things.
Yep.
I think he's more like a Bill Gates. He kind of bought inventions.
Mhm.
But who's the last person you know of who invented anything?
Well, I mean, it's kind of difficult because again, at a point, you're just buying people to, you're taking ideas from um, other ideas and kind of smashing them together to sort of create something new, right? Um, who knows if he was inspired by something to create the light bulb or whatever? But I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
he was.
yeah,
He was. But what I'm saying is, so it used to be you could just like if you had an idea, you could make it, and
mm,
you'd bring the patent, you'd get it patented, and you'd show everybody and start selling it. It doesn't work like that anymore.
yeah,
Now you end up selling your idea to an as seen on TV company or a big manufacturer. They give you a little bit of money, and then that's the end of it.
Shark Tank.
That's one way.
Mm,
You know, the guy who founded Victoria's Secret sold it for $1 million. And
interesting.
when the company became worth $1 billion, well, it became too much for him to handle because he couldn't believe he sold that idea, but it never would have gotten as big as it was had he not done that.
Interesting.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. The opportunities that previous generations had, we don't have. But in the past, you couldn't just sit and talk to a camera and make, or crash a train into a barrier and make $1 million. It wasn't a thing.
Man, I remember when that story came out. Like some person had somehow derailed a train and caught it, was doing it to catch it on camera. I was like, that's the most dumbest thing I've ever seen. But social media and the video hosting platforms allow that until they get caught in the social media aspect and they have to shove that person out. But I mean, you could look at like Twitch and people and those hot girls can get banned for like 24 hours and come back. Hey, Cool Frog, how are you doing, good sir? Um, but yeah, it's a mess all the way around with social media, video hosting platforms, and all this stuff.
Well,
That's
I mean, look at the Kia boys. They So a couple knucklehead kids figured you could pop the ignition out of Kias and Hyundais, start the car with a USB cord, and they started stealing cars and crashing them to the point where insurance companies stopped insuring Kias and Hyundais. The specific models, like you can go buy a new one and you won't have that problem.
yeah.
But I mean that became a national thing because of video sharing or Tide Pods. Do you remember Tide Pods?
Oh, and the kids were doing that.
They were eating them.
Yeah, this or the cinnamon challenge.
Yeah, that was a little bit less extreme. I think maybe only one person died from the cinnamon challenge.
Well,
But
yeah,
there was a,
that's I don't know. Yeah.
there was a lot of them. There was the two bananas and Sprite challenge. Do you remember that one?
Mm, I
You
don't
couldn't.
think so.
No, nobody could do it because you can't hold it down because the bananas react with the Sprite and it's no
Mm,
good.
mhm.
Um, but that's what this kind of attention seeking stuff does, and it's kind of like a space race, but a stupid one.
Mhm.
It's it's you're
Well,
not. I don't know, and some good stuff has come out of it. I think like remember Vsauce?
is that the guy who does like science experiments or tries to explain certain science things? Because I think
Yeah, he would pop on. He was a bald guy with a slight beard. And, hi,
yeah.
Vsauce.
It's been a long time since I've seen any of his stuff, but I remember stopping by and seeing like he would explain like different science things or whatnot.
Well, he
So,
had he had kind of a Bill Nye effect on a lot of young kids and got them really, really excited about science.
mm,
So that's a good thing. But unfortunately, that kind of content just doesn't compete with the mindless noise.
mm,
And a lot of, I mean, there's exceptions, but a lot of content nowadays is pretty mindless. It's pretty like put it on in the background while you're doing something else kind of stuff. And you'd love to push back against it, and you'd like to have it be all think pieces, but it'd never be popular.
Yeah, that is true.
Because people's attention span is ruined. It used to be. So I say this all the time. When I was growing up, everybody would watch the same TV shows on the same night, and they'd discuss it the next day.
Mm.
Right nowadays, The Boys is a good example.
Hmm.
A lot of people like that show.
Yeah, obviously.
But everyone watches it at their own pace. You get the one guy who watched it all the first day it's out.
Mm.
You get the guy who doesn't watch it till 3 years later, so you can't discuss it. It's not a common thing like it used to be in the early 80s. Who shot JR? Or who shot Mr. Burns?
Mm.
The final episode of Seinfeld, the final episode of Friends. These were all events.
Or MASH.
MASH.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show got really bad when Alan Alda started controlling it, but we're not going to get into that. He forgot it was a comedy. Apparently nobody told him.
Oh.
But that was the thing. They were cultural events, and they were cultural events because everybody watched it together.
Mm-hmm.
About the only thing that happens like that now is like the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you live in a sports town, everybody will watch the game. You know, we all love to gather around and watch the Browns lose every week.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good at that. You know.
At losing?
Yeah. They won 3 games this year.
Ooh.
So they are not great. But it's kind of the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not shared experiences anymore, which I think bring people together.
Yeah. But then again, that also can... Not all of it's great. I mean, you still have good parts, but not all of it's great because then you go back to this tribalism matter, which you talked about earlier.
Of course.
Because it's, yeah. So, but yeah, it's so the tools, I've always said this, the tools we create have a duality to them. And while there's a good to it, there's a bad to it, but it's not the tools themselves, it's the people using it. That's the issue. And so yeah. But yeah.
Well, it's also how you use it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Obviously, it's in how you use it. Again, the duality is not within the tool; it's within the person using the tool. Because the tool, it's like the whole thing with like the debate on the gun stuff, right? Like a gun itself can't do anything. You could bury it out in the forest, and it would probably stay there until someone dug it up years and years later. It doesn't do anything, but in someone's hands, it can. It's the individual, not the item, that does the good or bad. Yeah.
You know, Chris Rock had a great bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I'm sick of hearing about gun control. How about some bullet control? You make a bullet cost $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to shoot somebody because they stepped on your shoes."
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, like it's a joke, but it's also kind of true.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You think about when they created the internet. Do you think the people who created the internet thought it would turn into what it is now?
I highly doubt it.
Like if you could go back to the 60s when they were first inventing the DARPA net,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, "Hey, if you invent this, kids in 80 years are going to eat laundry soap." They'd say, "What?" But it happened.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they're going to plank. Do you remember planking?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was working at GameStop when that happened, so I had a lot of people trying to come into my store and take pictures.
It was such a dumb thing, but it's hilarious.
It was innocent. That was back when, you know, the trends, the Harlem Shake. I still don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's dancing around to some stupid nonsense song.
Mm-hmm.
But those were more innocent. Nowadays, again, the internet has even become fragmented. People who have their different areas of the internet they go to. There's some people who only go on YouTube or only go on Facebook. Admittedly, the people who only go on Facebook are boomers, but
Mhm.
there's people who only go on Rumble. They're,
Well, yeah, there's people who only go on YouTube. There's only people who go on Twitch and all this other stuff. I mean, yeah, I get that. Listen, if you don't have something better than the internet for us, don't bother. I guess.
well,
Um,
the internet was invented by the government.
yeah,
So was the dark web, because people are like, oh, you know, what is it? They thought they were getting away with things. Every technology that exists, like when we get it, the government's already had it for 20 years.
yeah. I
So,
yeah.
because they're not going to release it to us.
Mm,
So you start to wonder, you say, okay, so we have AI now. So
mm,
they've had that for a while. Where's their AI at?
mm. Who knows? But
The government.
yeah. Well, yeah, like reaches the other territory. But anyway, it is the top of the hour again, and I think we're gonna call it a night here because I do have to get tomorrow's stream set up, and I do have to go to bed. So,
I hear you.
but yeah, but no. So what we're gonna do is we'll do our promoting thing again, and then we'll kind of go through a few things, and then we'll end it from there. So, the floor
Sounds
is
good.
yours. The floor is yours, good sir.
All right. Well, once again, you want to find me? I'm always on X. It's kind of like an addiction. I am on there constantly, replying, talking. Stop
Mhm,
in, say hi. You want to joke, you want to talk about the government, whatever. You know, like I said, that Discord server, I'd like to get some people in there.
mhm,
It's a little looser than X, and your conversations aren't necessarily visible to every single person in the world.
mhm,
Other than that, I mean, I haven't developed a video profile yet. I
mhm.
perhaps will. In fact, I'm thinking I will. And that's about it.
Yeah, yeah, and either on the Rumble side or YouTube side, either end, his link tree's down below. So give him a look, and if he's worth the follow, well, give him the follow then. Um, but yeah, it's what was I gonna say next? Oh, that's right. I have to. I can't forget my stuff too.
Yeah, no. Get your stuff out there.
I was just gonna go into the next thing without doing my stuff. I was like, wait a second. You ever have that happen to you? It's sort of like when if you have glasses, right? You sort of like, where did I put my glasses at? And then they're on top of your head, and you're just like, oh man. Oh goodness, it's been a day. But anyway, whether you're on the Rumble side, whether on the YouTube side, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a follow or comment, anything that helps with the engagement factor is much appreciated. Because again, guys, not only does it help in being seen more, right? Because I mean, what content creator doesn't want that? But it also helps in having other people on as guests, like the Hausmeister, or the real Tomby, or Malay K, are so many more people. And of course, February is filling up pretty quick, so it's going to be an exciting month with new and returning people all over the place. So I hope you'll be able to join me for that. Again, any help with the engagement factor on either Rumble or YouTube is much appreciated. Um, I also have a link tree down below. It's down in the description, whether you're on Rumble or YouTube. You can click on that. You can see where my other stuff is at, or you can leave a comment on either end. And if you want to take the opportunity to come on, you can just contact, leave a comment there or logo my link, and we can get started. Because I've only had one person go through my links to find me to come on the show. And I'm hoping later on more and more people will try to do that, because scheduling is not an easy thing, apparently. And trying to get people to come on your show, just trying to explain to them like it's a conversational show. I'm like, what? Just like it's a conversation. So because some people will still call it an interview. I'm like, it's not an interview. I mean, you can ask me questions. So at that point, it's not really an interview, but it's just trying to be a conversational show about whatever, because you already have a lot of people doing niche work. And so, I mean, you're doing this, doing that, Star Trek, Star Wars, all that stuff, and I'm just here to talk about whatever. So that's my shtick. So any help with engagement factor and a link down below. I appreciate you um, all the time. That's right, all the time. But anyway, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, I get to have on a gentleman by the name of Bishop. I met him through another person I've had on as a guest, Bolt the Word or Words of Paradise, whichever one. He invited me on his show Countercast a long while ago, and that's where I met him, Bishop, and some other people through that. So tomorrow at 5 p.m., Bishop will be on. It'll be a great time. He's actually in the UK arena, so that's why the time thing. But hopefully, will join us for that. And of course, the last thing I do with my guest, and I hope you're ready for this, Hausmeister. At the end of it, I do this thing called questions from a hat. So I bought a hat from Rumble and I put some questions into it. So what happens is that my guest, you, get 2 freebie questions. Now, obviously, I'm not monetized on YouTube, so sorry, guys. But if you're on the Rumble side, if you want more than the 2 questions pulled out, you can give a Rumble rant. So 1, 500, it doesn't matter the amount. If you want one pulled out, just give a Rumble rant. We can get there. So I'm going to start by pulling the first question out of the hat, and we'll see what we get. My eyes are closed. All I'm doing is it's like that thing they do with like spaghetti, the mystery box, and like, ooh, it feels slimy in there. What is it, eels or something like that? All right, here I got one right here. Here's this one. And this one, the question for this one is, what's the weirdest food combination you secretly love?
So this one's actually easy because I try to talk people into this all the time.
Oh.
It is on waffles, peanut butter and banana sandwich. So you make a sandwich with peanut butter and bananas.
Hmm. But you said waffles too, right?
Yeah, that's the bread.
Okay.
And
That's not bad.
It is phenomenal.
I believe it. It sort of reminds me of the Elvis Presley sandwich, right? He'd have peanut.
The gold. It was like the gold brick sandwich. Yeah, that had bacon on it. I'm a little out on that. I'm telling you, Blip and Blap. Try it.
You know what? That sounds pretty good. Peanut butter, banana, and waffles. I once tried to, just as a side note, to put like bacon bits in the waffle. Once you put the batter on, you could like sprinkle bacon bits and put it in there, and then you put syrup on it. Ooh, man, that was pretty nice. All right, well, here's question number 2, and since someone's not getting a Rumble rant, it'll be the last one. So here's the second one, and this one's pretty easy. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Oh my God, I'm a night owl. It's pretty weird for a guy who wakes up at 3:30 in the morning to be like, I prefer the nighttime. But if I had my way, I love to be up at night.
Yeah.
Less people around, tends to be a little cooler.
Yep, and quieter too, obviously, because everyone's pretty much asleep. But yeah, I used to be that way, but then I was like, at a certain time point, I started getting tired, and so it's like I just gonna go to bed, not trying to fight it. Otherwise, you start making yourself sick after a while. But yeah, I'm not a morning person. I like the night more, but there's a time where I'm like, I gotta go to bed, sort of thing. So there's that. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here, and of course, thank you, Hausmeister, for coming on. It's been a fun time, and of course, you're always welcome to come back because obviously, there's always more to talk about. I mean, the Encyclopedia Britannica could pretty much fill a show for days on end. So, but that's what this is. It's a conversational show where it can go wherever and just have a fun time out of it. So, but I do thank you for coming on. It's been awesome. And
anytime.
Oh yeah, and everyone, of course, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, I'll have on a gentleman named Bishop. So hopefully you'll be able to join me for that. And of course, as always, I end the show with One Day With You by Pogo. And of course, if you want to see Pogo's other works, you can go down the link below in the description. Take you directly to his channel on YouTube. All the videos I use are on that, so have fun. But anyway, guys, have a great rest of your night, and I will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Bye. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go.